Welcome to the Prepare to Shift for Leaders podcast with Dr. Paula Maddox, where each month we explore cutting-edge leadership strategies and best practices that you can apply immediately. Dr. Paula draws from extensive experience working a career with the U.S. federal government and coaching C-suite leaders, executives, and managers from Fortune 50, 100, and 500 companies across the globe. As an author and seasoned executive leadership coach with a doctorate in strategic leadership, Dr. Paula has coached leaders in the U.S. and over 57 countries. By the end of each podcast episode, you'll walk away with proven strategies to lead more effectively, enhance your executive presence, and amplify your leadership impact and influence. Becoming a strategic and impactful leader is challenging, but it's absolutely achievable. Dr. Paula is here to guide and support you on your leadership journey. Here's Dr. Paula.
Welcome to the Prepare to Shift podcast series. I am your host, Dr. Paula Maddox, and as an author and global leadership coach with nearly 20 years of experience across a wide range of industries in the United States and 57 other countries, I've had the privilege of engaging with diverse leaders at all levels. In this podcast series, we will explore leadership topics drawn from real-world observations, insightful conversations, and deep coaching discussions. From the C-suite to thriving entrepreneurs and new hires, this show offers valuable insights and practical advice no matter where you are in your leadership journey. So I am thrilled that you are tuning in today. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with friends and colleagues. In this series, we will delve into a wide range of leadership topics that resonate with managers and leaders worldwide. So, in today's episode, we will discuss alternative dispute resolution. HR specialists refer to it as ADR, or what we commonly term as conflict resolution. Conflict resolution. We know that many organizations and teams are settling into various forms of return to work policies right now. So this may require workers to spend a lot more time in the office. And some workers may still have offices or designated workspaces, or they may be required to reserve a work area in a creative workspace solution, which takes on various forms in itself. No matter what scenario applies to you, it will require workers to resocialize themselves and adjust to yet another workplace scenario now that we all are back in the office. As we recall, a lot of mental and emotional adjustments were needed in finding new ways to socialize and communicate when we transitioned into a full or partial remote work framework during the pandemic. Now the same will be needed returning to the office work environment. It's an adjustment. It's another adjustment, and adjustments are not unusual. We adjust all the time, such as we adjust what we wear based on the weather. We adjust our sleep schedules based on our travel plans. We also adjust our routines to accommodate special events and entertaining friends and family. So making adjustments at work is much of the same. Returning to work also requires us to interact personally or face-to-face with others more so than we have done during the period of the pandemic. Along with that comes various forms of communication and the possible increase of miscommunication. And miscommunication can take on a number of various forms. Miscommunications happen with our verbal communication, our body language, even our eye contact and our eye expressions. Even through meeting disruptions that are sometimes miscommunicated to people, and they take on different perceptions for everybody differently in the room, and also being interrupted in a meeting, and so on and so forth. So it's vitally important to all of us to be mindful of office etiquette and respectful behaviors now that we are back together in office environments. One thing we know for sure is this: misalignments, disagreements, differences of opinion, discord, debates will happen, and let me tell you, they should happen. Yeah, did you hear me right? Yes, you did. Yes, the disagreements, the misalignments, the difference of opinions, the discord, the debates, they should happen. And you're probably thinking, why in the world would you say that, Dr. Paula? Well, let me share a little more information with you. Seeing things differently is healthy, and it also creates fertile ground for innovation, creativity, ideation, strategic thinking, all by raising additional questions and encouraging deep thinking. So what happens if we don't have this available to us, or if we don't actively seek it? Without all of these differences or disagreements and differences of opinion, we tend to create a groupthink scenario. Then we are left being stuck in business as usual. And that mindset tends to persist throughout our work career. And we've seen the consequences of group thinking. It's not good all the time. We often forget that there are appropriate ways to disagree with others, and we can do it without being passive-aggressive or disrespectful. So I reiterate, having a difference of opinion is healthy and may offer a better approach to a problem or a situation. For instance, Amy Gallo authored an article in Harvard Business Review titled, "Why We Should Be Disagreeing More at Work." And as always, I will leave the web link to this article in my show notes. Amy's article talks about the same benefits and so much more. She mentions that there are better work outcomes when there are differences of opinions, and if there is a psychologically safe space to unpack what everybody needs to bring to that particular discussion. The difference of opinions and disagreement leads to creative friction, which in turn gives workers the space to synthesize diverse information and ideas. This then leads to new solutions. Amy cites another quote from another author, and her name is Liane Davey, who is the co-author of Three Cozy Inc. Liane Davey made an important statement in her particular article and her book. She stated, conflict is uncomfortable, but it is also the source of true innovation, and it gives us the opportunity to mitigate risk. Yes, it does. The difference of opinions forces us to evaluate the pros and the cons of each particular situation we're approaching. Needless to say, difference of opinions also lead to inclusive work environments, improved relationships, and the opportunities to learn and grow. And we all know and have learned, even through our schooling and academic journeys, that promoting interactions through the use of asking strategic questions supports thinking and learning. It still happens even in adulthood and in our careers. It should be a lifelong learning process. So if you want to dive more into creating cultures of strategic questions and the cultures of thinking, I highly recommend a book published by Ron Richhart that can be purchased through Project Zero at Harvard University Graduate School of Education. The book is titled Creating Cultures of Thinking, and I will definitely leave this web link in my show notes as well. So, in order to make the differences in opinions or disagreements a worthy effort, it is equally important to know how to communicate a response when we do disagree. Right? I think you're right. So it can be helpful to begin our response by first respectfully acknowledging or recognizing the perspective of the other speaker before offering our own. There are multiple statements we can make, and here are just a few examples that you may want to try out. And it's important to decide on a response for you that resonates with you and your leadership style and your leadership character. Number one, the first example, and I'm quoting, we can simply say, I understand where you're coming from. This is acknowledging and respectfully acknowledging and recognizing the previous speaker. Just tell them, I understand where you're coming from, and then offer your suggestion or recommendation or perspective. Number two, here's another example. We can simply say, I see your point, and then offer your perspective. Number three, we can simply say, on the other hand, and then offer your perspective. And lastly, the number four example you can use. You can state, however, I'd like to offer another viewpoint for consideration, and then do so. These are just four simple, but, very effective examples of how you can respectfully disagree or offer a different perspective or opinion on what is being discussed. So, in essence, we want to acknowledge the fact that the other people in the discussion and in the room actually matter, simply by telling them so through these type of responses. It's equally important to enter conversations emotionally regulated. So what do I mean by being emotionally regulated? Okay, let's talk about this just for a moment. It means being in a state of mindfulness and being in an open and objective mindset with patience and without judgment. Let me repeat that for you. It means being in a state of mindfulness and being in an open and objective mindset with patience and without judgment, and the ability not to take things personally. That's a big one for a lot of people. We have to be mindful not to take anything personally. A lot of times it's not personal. People are trying to reach solutions and resolve things. That is what we get paid to do. That is why we get hired by organizations. And I often used to tell my teams, I appreciate the personal opinion, the personal, comment they want to make about a particular project. I appreciate that. However, do not ever forget, we don't hire you for your personal opinions. Look at the social accounts out there, the social platforms. Everybody's got a personal opinion about everything. Be mindful. Organizations do not pay you salaries and compensation packages for your personal opinion. You are being hired to offer your professional opinion based on your academic learning, based on your experience, and based on your expertise of what you've been trained to do. You are not being hired for your personal opinions. Provide always your professional perspective based on your level of expertise and experience. This is what adds credibility to you as a leader, and as it really kind of helps you frame your leadership style, your leadership brand, and your leadership image. If you begin to consistently offer your personal opinions in business conversations and business discussions, leadership will begin to form an opinion about you. You're bringing your personal opinions to the discussion, and really they want your expertise. They want to know what you have learned, what you have experienced in other office environments. They want to know what you have experienced in that industry. That is what is most valuable to them. So please keep that in mind. And if you have underlying fears of chaos or disruption or some strong emotional connection to the conversation at the moment, you can do one of two things. You can acknowledge your fear by stating what it is and do not assume the worst. Or always feel free to excuse yourself from that conversation or leave the room. Whatever it takes for you to take a silent moment to emotionally regulate again. It is beneficial for yourself. It's a way of honoring yourself, and it's a way of respecting everyone else in the room. And if you have an expert opinion, an expert recommendation, always feel free to cite reputable sources to reinforce your opinion, your recommendation, what you want to put forth for consideration. If you're interested in learning more, please feel free to read an article by Melody Stanford Martin, and it was published in Psychology Today. That particular article is titled 11 Tips for Talking to Someone You Disagree With. Healthy disagreement is hard work, but it's worth it. Again, I will leave the web link to that particular article in my show notes. It is a great read. So, it is always important to be mindful of a few additional thoughts before I close today's episode. So every conversation does not require a response. I want to make sure you're hearing me clearly. I stated every conversation does not require a response. Some comments or things are said that are not worthy of a response. And I think we all have experienced that personally or professionally. So we should not feel obligated to offer a response at all times. Always remember that silence is a response and a source of great strength, because a lot of people have difficulty in doing it. Silence is, first of all, nonverbal. Number 2, it gets the attention of others. Number 3, it's an obvious answer. Number 4, it is respectful and offers some space for reflection. So in summary of today's episode on conflict resolution or alternative dispute resolution, it is not a negative situation. I really have difficult calling it conflict resolution because the word conflict really is, the context of the word conflict is really framed around war and battle. We're not going to war with anyone. We're not battling anyone. We're just simply wanting an opportunity to offer a different opinion. So it's truly an alternative way to navigate and settle differences. And it is healthy and it should be encouraged, and it can be done in a respectful manner. So thank you again for sharing your time with me today. And if this leadership podcast has been helpful to you, please support others in their leadership development as well by smashing the like, follow, subscribe, or share buttons, and feel free to leave a gracious comment. I look forward to joining you again next month as I unpack another leadership topic impacting our work culture today. Just always remember to invest in yourself this year and keep leading well.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Prepare to Shift for Leaders podcast with Dr. Paula Maddox. Be sure to join us again on the first Monday of every month for more powerful leadership strategies. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to follow on Apple or Spotify and leave us a glowing review. For more information about Dr. Paula and to download her free PDF titled Leadership Communications, the Top 5 Tips, please visit her website at www.preparetoshift.com. That is prepare, the number 2, shift.com.